All right, happy finals week. So your job is to make a podcast for your final exam. So I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to create that. You'll need a PC. Obviously, you can use ours in Room 43, or you can maybe use your iPad. It can be kind of tricky. So I would recommend trying to use a PC. Hopefully you have access to one of those at home maybe as well, because it might take you a little bit of time. So your first step is going to be to download Audacity. This is what Audacity looks like. This is the icon. But to get it is really simple, and it's free to use. Again, as I said in the assignment sheet, you can use any podcasting software you want. This one's just free, and it does everything you would need really, really well. So you're going to open your browser, and you're going to just search for Audacity. And it should take you pretty easily to, let's move me down here, this link with a download. I'm going to click on that download link. And then, of course, it depends on what you're working with. Our school computers, you'd be using Windows, but of course, at home, you might have a Mac or something. So we're going to click this Audacity for Windows. Click on that. And then you have to left click here. And it takes you to another website right here that has a whole bunch of different options. So we're doing Windows, so we're going to use this Windows installer. If you have a Mac, you'd use one of these down here. Now, all you do is click on this and it downloads. I'm not going to do it because I don't need to, but once you click, it should automatically do it. Then you're going to see this once you install it. And when you double click that, Audacity will appear. And I have to quit out on a couple things. There we go. It should look like this when you start, which is super empty. So basically what you have to do is you have to fill this with information. Let me size that a little bit better for you. So there's a couple ways you could do this. Number one, I hope it doesn't mess up because I'm recording a video at the same time. Number one, though, you have to just record your track. You could do this a couple ways. One would be to record it on your iPad, which some students have done, using a microphone or just using the iPad. And then making sure that's an MP3, or there's a couple other different formats that you can do, like a WAV file. Those are much better quality. And then put those into this software. So if you want to do that, you do File, and then you'd go Import Audio, and you'd choose your file. So you could find that wherever it might be located on your computer. Or you can just record right into here. This might be a good option for some of you if you're recording at school. So you can just click record and make sure you have a mic and say record, and it's going to start recording, you know, whatever's going on and whatever you're talking about. And as you can see there, it shows the different modulations in your voice, how things change, all that kind of stuff. It's also showing me how loud I'm getting here, and I can change that up top if I want to. And then it's also showing me the time, so you'll notice it's gone for 21 seconds, and it's going to keep going from there on for however long you record it. If you want to pause, of course, you can just literally pause here, or I would recommend you just let it run, and then you can always cut out parts of your track, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So we're going to push stop for now, and I have this track. Now I can go back and listen to this track. So here we go. Let's see what this sounded like. If you want to pause, of course you can. Okay, looks good. So my voice sounds nice and clear there. That's, of course, critical for a podcast. You don't want a poor sounding voice. Then what I can do is I can start working within just that. Okay, so let's say I wanted to cut this out. I can highlight it. And again, I'm just up here on this cursor right here. It's the selection tool. And I just left click and drag. And I could push delete, and it'll literally just cut that audio. So you can see here, these are some moments of being quiet, and I could highlight those and cut them. I can also do Control Z to undo that, and you should be familiar with that. I could also do this and make it a little bit more unique, right? So if I want to play this, and say record, and it's going to start recording. And I'm going to pause right there because I like this portion, but I still want to keep this, but I want to create them as two different tracks. Maybe I want to layer what's going on for some reason. What I need to do now then is don't go to File New. Instead, I want to go Track and Add New. and I want a stereo track. Okay, this track is empty right now. There's nothing going on. But what I can do is I could take this, I don't know why, but I'm going to take this chunk, and I could copy it. I could go edit, copy, but instead I'm going to actually cut it. So I'm going to pull this out of here. So I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go edit, cut, and notice it just gets rid of it. But then I'm going to put it, I can choose any time, and I can say, let's put it here, edit, and if I want to select an area, edit, paste. And notice it'll go right into that area I selected. If you don't select an area, and you go edit, paste, notice it'll just go to wherever you started that cursor. So again, edit, paste, and it's going to put it right there. So then this is what that sounds like. It's going to get really weird sounding. And then it's also showing me the time whatever's going on is whatever you're talking about. So that sounds like two of me talking over myself. So that's not very pleasant. But in a second here, it'll make sense why you might want to do that. So then the next kind of critical thing you need for a podcast is music. So we need to find some music. Now, for what we're doing in class, it doesn't really matter too much if you take music that isn't approved music, that isn't for use music. But if you were to actually publish this, if you wanted us to publish this on, maybe the iTunes store or Android, Google Podcasts, anything like that, then you need licensed music. Number one, the best way to do it is, of course, if you're a musician, you could record it, or if you know a musician, you can have them record it. The other way, of course, is going to the internet and searching for free use music. Now, be careful, because some of it will seem like free use, but it's not actually free use. So if I do free use podcast music, MP3. I want the MP3 format. Now, my first thing I'm going to want to click on probably is like one of these here. And I might say Pod Summit. Let's see. Okay. And this one's actually good. So Pod Summit says, I looked all over. I couldn't find anything. Over the last couple of days, I created some simple original tracks in GarageBand. I'll be using them a few in my podcast, but I thought I would share the rest. These are released under Creative Commons 0, so download them, mix them, use them as you see fit. So that's good. Be careful if you just say free audio, MP3, download, free use or something. Because you might run into this, where earlier today I was looking at this one that's called Ben Sound, and it seems great, royalty-free music by Ben Sound. And I said, oh, this is really nice. I could download like this summer-sounding one. Whoa. But if you actually look at it, and if I say download, once you click this download, notice it says no audio podcast. They want you to pay 24 euros a year probably to get the high quality MP3 and waves and to be able to use it in a podcast. So you can't actually use it from this site. That is illegal, and they could sue you. This one, though, is clearly saying you can use these. So I'm going to download one of these. Interesting. Maybe this one. I'm going to actually go with this one. Okay, so I download it. It pops up in this screen. I'm going to click over here and say download. And then it downloads onto my drive. Okay, now I can go back to Audacity, go File, and I want to import audio. And I need to go to my downloads, desktop, this PC, downloads, and then let's just see, there it is, splash in memory. Okay, I'm going to put that, it imports it, and here it is. It actually titles it right here. And it's smart to title your tracks. How I would recommend it is based on what you're talking about in that moment, you might title that. So this is just going to be called like example for class. Okay. Now, if I were just to leave it like this, this is what this would sound like, and it doesn't sound good. And say record, and it's going to start recording, whatever's going on or whatever you're talking about. And as you can see there. So right now it's kind of this weird montage of the two tracks, so that's problematic. So what I want to do is, if I still want to use this splash track, what I can do is I could move it up, because I kind of want to start with it. I don't need to move it up, but I could just for visual sake. And then what I want to do is I want to actually create some space in here. Oops. Not that way. Okay, I'm going to create some space in here. So I'm going to go right at the front, and I'm going to use this audio track up above as kind of like an intro to what I'm talking about. And here I can space this. And, whoops, 1 second. And I can use this little space button and say, I want to just push this. Okay, and that's this little guy up here. And it starts from wherever your sound is, and I can push that forward. So now instead of sounding like it's talking over me, let's play it. And say record, and it's going to start recording. Okay, so now I have kind of a nice opening sound. So I could, down here, record an opening. And if I want to record something and I don't want to hear everything else, I can mute these. I can say, let's just mute these for now. And I just need to record. So I'm going to come back here with my cursor, and I'm going to record and say, welcome to my podcast. Today we're going to be talking about podcast things, and it's going to be great. All right, now I can use this, and I'm going to unmute these, and I'm going to move this one up here. And again, this is going to talk right over this, so I need to move this. So I'm going to click my move button, grab this, and I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to move this one over here. I'm going to call this one intro track, intro. And then this is, I'm going to rename it from splash in memory to like intro music. And then I'm actually going to also select this part. And in here, I'm going to actually turn the volume down. Let's see if I'm doing that right. Playback volume. Okay, I think this will work, but we'll find out. I might have done that wrong. Okay, here we go. Oh no, that's the problem. I just made it all quiet. Whoops. Welcome to my podcast. Today we're going to be talking about podcast things, and it's going to be great. Okay, so I'm going to stop it, and you could hear here there's a little blip, so I might take that and delete it. And then here, if I highlight all this, and let's see if I can reduce. No, I want that gain. Anyway, you can start messing with this, and we'll look at more of this in class. You can do different effects to it. So from here, we can play it. And then my intro part comes in after that music. Welcome to my podcast. Today we're going to be talking about podcast things. There you go. So now we have kind of the beginnings of our podcast, which is nice. And we can go from there. So as you can see, when you add tracks and then when you bring in the music, you start to get kind of that dynamic feature feeling of a podcast. So your goal with a friend, with a classmate, is to record a 15-minute podcast. You have to do that outline and hopefully make it about something you're interested in, because that way the listener will be interested in it. And then find some music to put in there as well. That's going to be one of the requirements. Again, if you don't want to use Audacity, you don't have to. It's just the one that I've used before. It's really straightforward. And it's really easy to use. And there's a lot of fun effects. One that I'll just leave you with here is you can make your voice sound different. Let's see if I can do this really quickly just to show you. And we can do like echo, so it sounds like I'm in some kind of weird. Welcome to my podcast. Today we're going to be talking about podcast things. It's going to be great. Whoa. Have fun. I'll help you in class, and we'll kind of get going. See ya. One last thing. You'll have to export this at the end. So the last kind of step here that I didn't show you is you'll have to go to File, and then you actually go Export, and export as a WAV or an MP3. I'm requiring you to submit it as an MP3, so that's what you're going to want to do. A real podcast, you want to use a WAV. It's just better quality. But you'll say Export as MP3, and then it's going to export all this stuff. If you just save the project, so if you go up to File, Save Project, and you try to give me that file, it won't work. So you have to export it as an MP3. And we'll go over that in class. Good luck.